In episode 5, Antony and Edwina get the queen's blessing to have the wedding, but she demands that they have it at the castle. Someone like Antony Bridgerton marrying her diamond, that's a huge deal. Antony thanks the queen, but also tells her that's not necessary. What also isn't necessary is that look that Kate keeps giving Antony, that my mind is telling me no, but my body is telling me yes. But the real reason why the queen wants to have it at the castle is because she wants to finally figure out who Whistledown is. If it's at the castle, then that's the biggest story going on in town. She'll have all of the girls that she's come to the conclusion could be Whistledown followed, and they're even planning on putting out false rumors to see which ones come back. But that's not the only wedding that's going down. You also have the wedding between the new Lord Featherington and Prudence, which is stressing Lady Featherington out. She's once again broke. She's facing having to fire the same people that she just rehired. And when Cousin Jack walks in the door, he says, "You've no one to blame but yourself. If it wasn't for you, we'd be living comfortably on Cressida's dowry right now, but you had to meddle. If you would just call this ridiculous engagement off, we could salvage it." But Lady Featherington tells him, "No, I can't do that to Prudence. It would break her heart, and her reputation's already been ruined. It's far too late for that." So it's back to the drawing board. He's got to think of something. Down the street, the Bridgertons are getting ready for a dinner that night with the Shawarmas and Lady Danbury to welcome them into the family. When Lady Bridgerton brings up to Eloise that she's going to need her help, Eloise says, "Sorry, Mom, I can't. I'm attending a lecture tonight." She doesn't want to tell her that it's an intellectual lecture on women's rights, so she tells her that it's about floral arrangements, claiming that Lady Featherington is forcing Penelope to go, so she's going to keep Penelope company. In reality, she's planning to go solo. A couple of rooms down the hall, Antony, along with the jeweler, are waiting for Edwina and Lady Mary to arrive. They're supposed to go over ring sizing, but the two women are running late at the modiste. Kate went ahead because she wanted to go and have a conversation with Antony about why he is proceeding to go along with this, especially after what happened at Aubrey Hall. But Antony reminds her, nothing happened at Aubrey Hall. Yes, something almost happened, but almost is still nothing when you look at it. The conversation is a little awkward, but it gets even more awkward when the jeweler asks if she has the same sized hands as her sister, which she does. So with Edwina running late, the jeweler puts Edwina's ring on Kate's hand. And when Edwina and Lady Mary do finally show up, there's Kate wearing Edwina's wedding ring. It's really only uncomfortable for Kate because she knows what her and Antony are currently going through. Edwina is too clueless to realize. As Kate is trying to get the ring off, Lady Danbury walks in and tells them that she's received word from Edwina's grandparents that they're in town and they want to come to the dinner that night. Edwina is thrilled. She's never met her grandparents. Kate and Lady Mary, on the other hand, they're not looking forward to that at all. Because of this news, Lady Mary is suddenly not feeling well. There's a little bit of a party in a park, but she no longer wants to go. Neither does Kate, but Lady Danbury all but makes her. And on the walk over, Kate asks Danbury, "How could you invite them? You know what they did to my mother." And Danbury says, "I do. That's why I'm not going to answer their impoliteness with impoliteness. Besides, isn't this what you wanted? Edwina to be in the good graces of the Sheffield family? Reclaiming the fortune you so desperately need?" And Kate admits, "That is what I want, but not until after the wedding." That's because Edwina is still in the dark about everything. And Kate also knows that if the Bridgertons were to learn about this, they might feel a certain way. And Danbury looks at her and says, "I kind of think that you'd like that if the wedding got called off." Kate tries to play dumb with Lady Danbury, but Lady Danbury's too smart. She reminds Kate that they're engaged. In the eyes of society and the Queen of England, they're as good as man and wife. Only an amazing scandal would prevent this marriage from going down. And a scandal like that would send alarms through the entire town. It could be a stain from which the Sharma family would never recover from. Only a fool would jeopardize the marriage. So in a nutshell, Lady Danbury tells her, "Back off. Edwina got there first." Right at the end of this conversation, Mr. Dawsett walks up. He wants to make amends with Kate. He does find her attractive, even if he was sent by Antony at the races. He asks Kate if she wants to go around the lake with him, and when Kate says, "I'm rather tired," Danbury says, "Oh no, she'd be delighted to." Both Dawsett and Kate walk right by Antony, Lady Bridgerton, and Edwina on their way to the lake. And while Lady Bridgerton and Edwina think it's great that Kate is finding somebody, Antony cannot take his eyes off of him. He's sending daggers at Dawsett, as if to say, like, "Get away from my girl." He stares them down their entire lap around the lake. And while Kate didn't want to go, she ends up having a really good conversation with Dawsett. Even when Kate mentions how she's planning on going back to India, Dawson seems more than willing to go with her. But when the two arrive back on the dock, it is Anthony who is waiting there for Kate to help her out of the boat. Their hands, however, are holding for an uncomfortably long period of time. When Anthony realizes it, he steps backwards, he trips over Newton, and takes him and Dawson into the lake. It's quite embarrassing. Not too far away, one of Anthony's friends, Mondrich, arrives along with his wife, and Mondrich does not want to be there at all. He wants to be back at his gentleman's club running things, but his wife reminds him, we need gentlemen to be in the gentleman's club, and they're all here, so you need to network. The problem that Mondrich has is he's still known as just a boxer. At least, that's what Cousin Jack knows him as. As soon as Mondrich walks up, Jack introduces himself, but then immediately goes into Mondrich's boxing career. It kind of pisses Mondrich off, and it's his wife who actually has to invite Cousin Jack over to the gentleman's club, which he appreciates the invitation. But then Lady Featherington walks over and pulls him away from it. She starts chastising him for not finding a solution to their problem yet and just chatting it up with guys at gentlemen's clubs, and he returns it by saying that she continues to run up massive bills at the Modiste, so maybe she should start thinking of an idea herself. Now, two people that aren't there are Benedict, who is at school, and Eloise. She went off to that lecture. When she gets there, she's like a kid in a candy shop. She's overwhelmed, looking all over the place, but then she sees a familiar face. It's Theo, the printing apprentice. She walks up to him, and he's pretty surprised that she's there. They start busting each other's chops, but it's all in good nature. It seems like they're getting along quite well. Penelope, though, didn't go. And that's because Penelope wasn't invited. She found out that Eloise was going to this lecture from a conversation with Colin, and she wants to get to the bottom of exactly what Eloise is doing because she's concerned that Eloise is tracking down exactly who Whistledown is. She heads on over to the Bridgerton household where Eloise tells her, I'm sorry, I can't go on our walk today. So on her way out, she asks one of the maids where Eloise went, and the maid gives her the address. She then heads home, where her mother has called for the jeweler. Jeweler is checking out a ruby necklace, and when Cousin Jack walks in, he gets very uncomfortable because he knows that it's fake. He's kind of pressuring Lady Featherington to stop, but the jeweler continues to appraise it. And the jeweler gives it the all clear. He believes that it's real. When he leaves, Cousin Jack walks up to Lady Featherington and says, "What are you doing? Those stones are fake." And Lady Featherington says, exactly. If we just fooled that guy, we just might make it out of this season. This conniving idea turns Jack on a little bit. He's into it. Now, right before that night's dinner at the Danbury household, Lady Bridgerton has to have a conversation with Anthony. The way he's acting, it's as if he's going to get his taxes done and not getting married. He tries to let her know that the love match between her and his father was the exception, not the rule. But she wants him to experience love. She feels like he's making a mistake. And she tells him, if you think you are, then you have to call it off now. But he says to his mother, what I want isn't important. I can't back off now. I couldn't do that to Edwina. And she says, you're correct. You can't. You're a gentleman. But a woman could. I mean, it happens all the time. Women get cold feet. If Edwina were to call off the engagement, nobody would find fault with her. You wouldn't be dishonoring her. It's a win-win. He, however, looks up at his mother and lets her know that she doesn't want to end the engagement. And she asks him, does Edwina know your true feelings on the matter? Even though both people in the room know that this is a mistake, Anthony is dead set on going through with it. In the other room, the soon-to-be bride is also getting prepared for that night's dinner, and she's excited, not just to meet her grandparents, but also for the idea that she will be the Viscountess. Her sister is not all that excited. She just wants to get the hell out of town and forget all of this went down. But with Edwina's grandparents moments away from arriving, Kate feels like this should be a good time to tell Edwina the truth. The problem is, she's out of time. Right before she can tell Edwina, Lady Danbury comes in to let them both know that the Sheffields are downstairs. They head downstairs and the Sheffields greet their granddaughter, and they act like they didn't abandon the entire family. Kate, they completely ignore. They also treat Lady Mary like an outcast. It gets even worse at dinner. When they start talking about estates and what they like to do, somehow Lady Sheffield spins it to start bashing Lady Mary and start bashing Kate's mother. It gets extremely awkward. Lady Bridgerton and Lady Danbury see what's going on, so they try to get the conversation moved elsewhere, but it doesn't work. Lady Sheffield cannot harbor her resentment for her own daughter embarrassing them years ago. And it gets to the point where Lady Mary can't take it anymore and fights back. When Lady Sheffield brings up that they were robbed of having their granddaughter for years, Lady Mary says, you have 2 granddaughters and you had every opportunity to spend time with them. You didn't. I was cast out by the only family I had ever known. But you know what I learned? I learned that you actually did us a favor, because when you cast me out, you taught me that I could raise my daughters far from your constant judgment and demands that they should chase wealth over love. We don't need your wealth. And Lady Sheffield cracks up at that statement, knowing the agreement she made with Kate. The problem is, nobody else other than the Sheffields and Lady Danbury know about that agreement. This is coming as a complete surprise to Lady Mary, Edwina, and the Bridgertons. When Lady Sheffield continues to go in on Lady Mary and Kate, Anthony steps up to the plate and says, I've had enough. You have failed to show the proper respect for the Sharma family, and I'm not going to stand for it. Lady Mary has done an amazing job raising her daughters. They're eloquent, they're kind, loyal, and a credit to both of their parents. And since you clearly don't wish to jeopardize your social standing, I suggest you leave, and don't bother waiting for an invitation to the wedding. You're not getting one. He kicks the Sheffields out, but he's also pissed off. So is Lady Bridgerton. They also feel like they've been duped, and they take off. Kate runs after Anthony to explain that Edwina had no idea, and he says, that became obvious. This was all you. Now we just have to call off this wedding. Nobody needs the headaches involved with this. But I won't call off the wedding. That would do Edwina a disservice. So Lady Danbury and my mother will come up with a plan, and Kate cuts in and says, there will be no plan. What did she do to you? Why does she deserve this? And Anthony says she doesn't. It's you. He starts telling Kate how he never wants to see her again, how there's no point in the world that could be far away that would suffice. But the more that he's telling her how much he hates her, the closer the two are getting. They come really close to kissing. Neither of them asked for this, but they both clearly want it. Anthony, though, is a total tease. He steps back and reminds Kate that if he weds Edwina, it would bind him and Kate for eternity. And he's going to spend every day wanting Kate, dreaming of Kate. Eventually, he knows he's going to give in to temptation. He then gets the hell out of there. So it was not exactly a pleasant dinner party. But hey, it was at least a party, which is something that the Featheringtons weren't even invited to. Their mailbox is empty, which is unheard of for them. They're a well-respected family in the community. Lady Featherington goes to complain to Cousin Jack about this, but the conversation, though, goes from how they have no plans to the business that Lord Cowper wanted with Jack. It all has to do with these ruby mines. But the problem is those ruby mines are worthless. There's nothing in them. And Lady Featherington says, take his money. He doesn't know that. Get them to invest. Our fortune will be restored. Prudence will have a great wedding. And I won't have to suffer the disdain of this town again. Once again, Jack's liking this conniving style from Lady Featherington. Late that night, down the street, Edwina can't sleep. She's too annoyed. Kate comes in to apologize and explain her side of things. Edwina's annoyed, but she does tell Kate that they don't need the Sheffields' money. When she marries Anthony, she's going to have plenty of it. And she knows that Anthony will take care of Kate as well. Kate doesn't want that, but the more that Edwina talks, the more that Kate realizes it's not going to be easy to talk her out of this engagement. She really is in love with Anthony. The next morning, Kate goes on one of her horseback rides, and to her surprise, Anthony shows up. He lets Kate know that he's decided he's going to talk to Edwina and find a way to end things that day. When the engagement's off, him and Kate are never going to see each other ever again. Kate starts sticking up for her sister, and Anthony's taken back because Kate's been against this marriage from the start. And Kate yells, I was wrong. I'm not going to be the cause for you losing your honor any more than I'm going to stand for Edwina being in pain. You once saw her as your perfect match, you will find your way there again. You have to marry my sister because this feeling that plagues us, it's going to pass. Before you know it, it'll be as if we never felt it at all. After hearing this impassioned speech, Anthony agrees to go along with the wedding. And lastly, we have our first sex of the season, and it's Benedict. He ends up having sex with the nude model at school. Good for him. She is attractive. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought this sucked. Make sure to be nice in the comment section. If you don't see the next video up in the end screen there, I'll get it up in a few days, not to worry. And I have merchandise, so go buy a mug or something. It's never too early to think about Christmas gifts, folks. Once again, thank you for checking out this recap.